My role, I look after all of those leadership programs from our junior high potential through to our C-suite, executive coaching at the very top end, and also look after succession planning as well. So Psychometrics really weave through everything that we do. And it's really important that we have robust assessments that we can measure and evaluate as part of the programs that we offer. So clearly we've heard today that some of those programs are really pivotal in making sure that we've got some great data insights. Whether we do that well in the investment bank is to be seen, and I'll go through some of the challenges and also opportunities of what it's like from that insider perspective. There we go. Alrighty, so just one slide just to make it nice and simple today. We can't quite see the other bits there. Let me continue as Nikita's fantastic. Thank you very much. So, real challenges on our onboarding procedures. We obviously have to do a very thorough assessment in terms of a needs analysis, in terms of the organization. Who do we need it for? What do we want to measure? What are we looking for an outcome? Who's going to use it? So that's part of the key processes that we have a look at. And then there's the piece really about getting onboarding in terms of our key stakeholders. So who's going to make sure that they're advocating for this? Where are we going to use it? How are we going to use it? What data are we going to acquire as part of it? Data security and risk mitigation is absolutely key. And this is where people have the stumbling block, certainly with working within investment banking. And I've worked in multiple organizations, not just investment banking. And this is really second to none. I often tell a story for my sins, my background. I'm ex-military. I had a very high security clearance when I left. I ended up working at MOD Whitehall for a bit on an encrypted messaging system, which was top secret. It isn't as encrypted as what we have in the bank, let me tell you. It takes a lot of work. So if you're going to come and talk to us, it's not that I want to be negative. It's not that I want to not onboard something that I think is really robust and really useful for us. But the complexity in what we have to do is really second to none. So I have to do a lot of work from the very beginning. I have to raise all this profile. It has to go to risk committees. It goes through security architecture. It goes through risk, legal, compliance, technology. I will send you a data spreadsheet which has about 74 questions on it. It's massive. And so what I would always say and what I always advocate is if you've got a data team, you're going to need them because there'll be endless rounds of calls to mitigate data. In investment banking, and particularly the one in which I work, we have zero tolerance. We are a risk-averse organization. It makes it really challenging and also difficult for providers, and particularly if you're a small provider and you want to work with us. But stick with us because it really can have benefits if you're willing to go through that process. It will take some time. I'm conscious when I onboarded Lumina, and Stuart will vouch for this. We're still having questions at the moment. Yeah, 2 years. It took me 2 years to onboard it. But actually it was worth it because we use Lumina a lot, as well as other assessments, which I'll talk about a little bit. As part of that data security, we're also looking at PII data, personally identifiable information. So if you're just asking for first name, last name, and email address, happy days. You start asking for gender, ethnicity, anything else, you are going to be an extra level of security, penetration testing, encryption to the nth degree. It really does take a lot of effort on a supplier's behalf to do some of this stuff. Takes a lot of effort on my behalf because I do a lot of paperwork. I have a lot of meetings with our steerco and everybody else to make sure that it gets the visibility that it needs. I also need to go through the organization. I need to make sure that we've got it onboarded, that we have clear processes on how we're using it, how we're maintaining that data, where we're storing it. We also have the added factor of different jurisdictions. So all of the tools that we onboard need to be used globally. So if I think about China, Moscow, for instance, Russia, that's a no-go area. But we do want to make sure that we've got it covered in a variety of different organizations. Different countries have also jurisdictions differences, and therefore we have to go through all of that rigmarole as well. It takes a lot of time. And then in terms of the psychometric assessments, we like to have a cadence in where we use our psychometric data. I'll share with you candidly the 3 psychometrics that we've got on board that we use regularly. Is there room for another? I think so. Whether people want to work with us is another matter. We use DISC for our workplace leadership and agile EQ, and we use that at our lower end of the population, so our junior, what we call our non-officer population. And the reason we use DISC at that level is we want to enable people to have a self-awareness of themselves and how they interact and interrelate with others. And I think that that tool fits in quite nicely there. The reports are easy to read. We don't do an individual debrief. We typically tend to team debrief or group debrief in terms of that tool. And I believe people have enough information that they can understand their own report from the information that we share. We'll sometimes use it for team building as well. And then the other piece is Lumina. When I met Stuart and the wonderful Nikita, I was immediately sold. I actually went and paid for myself to do a Lumina assessment because I really love this tool. So if you're not familiar with it, really explore it. It's a little quick sell for you. This tool was absolutely fabulous, and it really delivered in a place that we didn't have an assessment. And I really like it. We use it a lot of our junior non-officer programs and also our executive development level as well. And we found it, I mean, Nikita gets lots of work with us, so there's lots of opportunity to use that. We use it on an individual basis. We use it for team, systemic team as well. So we're really thinking about how it operates within the whole system. And the one thing I like about Lumina is the neurodiversity aspect. So I do a lot of coaching. We have some neurodivergent individuals, and they've really appreciated this as a tool. It's very easy to reflect on, to understand, to really think about it. The coach tool is terrific in terms of online, and the app is fantastic. And that's why it's taken so long to onboard, because we've onboarded some of this technology, and going out to different platforms is where sometimes the biggest challenges lay, because it's about how that data is stored, who's collating it, who's reviewing it, what data do we need. And then at the top end, no surprise, Hogan is the thing that we use for our executive development. We use that at our MD level, from a new promotion to MD, just to really offer that insight. We use it on our more senior MD programs, and then we use that at executive level. So that's where Hogan is. In terms of implementation, thinking about what we're doing is we're probably missing a trick, and this is where maybe I need to speak to Suki afterwards to say we have a lot of data. You know, how do we use this data? How do we collate it? And Christopher, who's part of my team, who's with me today, we were talking about this earlier and saying we need to do more. I'll be really candid, we don't do enough. We do not do enough in this space. I must have at least 8 years worth of data from a variety of different assessment tools. And unfortunately, it's just me. We have a really lean team. We're an organization of about 80,000. And Christopher is part of my team up in Glasgow, really helping from a resource perspective. But it's really just me that does this. And so it's about having the capacity to be able to look at this amongst all of the other stuff that I do. And so this is where I found this session really useful today, to think about what are all of these other organizations doing? How are they doing it? How are they managing it? I think we are challenged on resource. I think we need to be smarter about what we do, but I do believe it can offer lots of insight. And this is where those opportunities are for measuring business impact. We've got all of this stuff, but we're not doing anything with it. The other piece of work that I'm looking at is our C-suite. So the real top people, those people who are -1 to our board team. I'm thinking about that next in terms of what are we looking at? How do we measure who is right for moving into those top level positions? So the organization in which I work has a very long tenured organization. People have been there for 30 plus years who are sitting at the top. So they sort of come in, man and boy, if you like, and then they've grown through the organization, and this is where they are. But when I look at succession planning, I might have top positions, or those top positions, I might have 10 people deep who could easily do that. So we've really got to think about what is the differentiator. Technical skills, I don't touch. We know that people do their job. So quite truthfully, I'm not looking at that, because they wouldn't be working in this organization if they weren't capable of doing that really well. So what's the difference that's making the difference? And this is where I feel the opportunities are for psychometric data. And working maybe with some of the organizations that Zuki was talking about, and maybe Hogan and everybody else, to say, what data feedback do you have for us? What are the themes? What are we seeing? What are we noticing? What are the capability gaps? I think there's a lot of missing elements, and hence why I'm here today, just to see what everybody else is doing, as I mentioned. But I would be really curious, and I do have a mentee question, and then I'll be opening up for any other questions that people would like to ask. And the mentee question is, Nikita. Thank you. Let me just share that while you bring that up. So I've put a mentee question on there. What strategies have you found most effective when using psychometric assessments to increase engagement and drive measurable business results?
Just ask them to speak to the person next to them and then.
Yeah. Ask away. I'm looking for some really great feedback. So anything that you think can drive measurable results using psychometric data. There we go.
Two more minutes.
Yeah.
Sentences. So, who would like to share first? I believe there was a hand up. Oh,
Hi. So at Lloyd's, what we've been doing with our Hogan data is we've been building team profiles. So from an engagement point of view, we work closely with our team effectiveness team. And so we look at the team profile, we look at the leader effect on that profile, all manual at the moment. We've also got some external benchmarks at Outside in Perspective in terms of fintech and FS sector benchmarks. And so we use that as at the beginning of the team effectiveness engagement, looking at their profiles, complementary skill sets, and everything you would expect. And then it helps us really hone in and focus on the areas that are going to matter most to that team, given the context that they're operating in. So that from an engagement point of view, I think, because when we're working with people who like data and want sort of that objective insight, you get buy-in quite quickly by flashing that up on screen. So that's how we use it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Let's do it. And then Victoria, lovely.
I think it works well with individuals when there's a clear burning platform for the individual to develop, because they may be skeptical or too busy or not psychologically minded at all. And I find it works particularly well when somebody's about to be or has just been promoted into a new role, where it becomes very obvious to them that they're going to have to stop doing some things that they maybe love doing and were famous for doing well, and have to start doing things which are maybe challenging or different. So the burning platform is, I need help at this stage, and so it can be an open door.
I think that's absolutely right. I mean, one of the things that we do is for our new MDs, so people moving from executive director to managing director, and we use this phrase, get off the dance floor and onto the balcony. You need to have this holistic view of what you're doing. You can't be in the weeds. There's times you might need to be, but actually it's okay to not have all the answers, to maybe empower your team to come up and maybe have them present instead of you. It doesn't matter if you don't have, if you're asked a question and you're like, well, let me defer to this person because this person has all the answers. You're absolutely right. And that's one of the prime areas in which we use it. And I think if we were to start data reviewing, that's maybe where we'd start, because we've probably got about 8 years worth of that data. But thank you very much.
Fabulous.
Hi, I've seen some really powerful results when you combine team engagement score with personality data and 360 data, and you put it all together and measure at 2 points. So what gets measured gets done.
Yes. Can you share a little bit more about that?
It's basically what it is. You take whatever your listening campaign is or your listening medium that you use. So you look
Yep.
at the engagement score for that particular team. You know that everyone is on board with that. You then we use a combination of Hogan personality profile for the working with the leadership development.
Yep.
You can also do it with coaching interventions as well to measure the ROI and coaching interventions.
Yes.
So you can really see how what you've invested has made a tangible impact. And if it's made an impact on engagement, it's made an impact on performance.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Fantastic, Renee.
Oh yeah, I think this is now the question for everybody. I think because if we're talking about what you said, then we need to measure change in individual people, right? We just can't
Yeah.
measure one-off and
Yeah.
one-off with some other tool. So we need a real platform that reliably tracks change. So can you do this? Are these tools suitable for this? All of these.
It's a question for everybody.
Yeah.
What does everybody think?
Yeah.
Okay, Bob tells no change. Well, yeah. Yes. Yeah, Juliet, then Suki, and then we'll wrap up.
So sorry, I was just going to say, I was just out of the room when you were beginning your presentation. I apologize, but I'm interested in this question. So I run a company called Real World Group, and we look at behavioral assessments through psychometrics as opposed to personality, and they're very complementary, which is why it's very exciting to hear about personality, because we need to understand it because it's so critical. But anyway, basically we use behavioral psychometrics, and we've done a lot of work, including longitudinal research, showing that the difference it makes in terms of change readiness in teams and objective measures of performance in multi-professional teams. And then, we've done other research as well over the last 25 years, but that's how we use it, with behavior rather than personality, although that sounds really fascinating.
Yeah, no, I think that is really good, because that's what you're hoping for from all of this, is some of those behaviors may change, or they may align with organizational values and the way the culture is heading, etc.
One mechanism that we've been experimenting with, feels really odd speaking into it, but it sounds like it's off, is to come up with this idea of what we call leadership levers, and they will be unique to any particular organization based on your own leadership framework or your own values you want people to be living towards. But for an example, if one of those is around being an effective communicator, we can create these leadership levers, map Hogan scales to them, and you could have a spectrum of behavior. So on the left-hand side can be an extreme in one end, which is you're a closed book, you don't talk to anyone, you're very closed as a communicator, and all the way through to the other side is you're like a noise risk. You just never stop talking. It's like broadcast mode. I can't think of anyone in the room who's like that. But on that spectrum, there will be a sweet spot, right, where it's some balance. And what we've seen, what we're exploring, is at the beginning of some kind of intervention, a program, plotting 3 data points on that spectrum. So your Hogan profile, where that places you, your own self-perception, where you think you are, and then a 360, like a survey. So how do other people see you on that spectrum? And then a year later, or whatever your time horizon is, the Hogan score won't change, but you can then see where do you think you are on that, and crucially, the 360, where do other people place you on that spectrum after a year of work and intentionality behind that? So 3 different data points on a spectrum at the start and end of an intervention can work well.
I like that. That sounds great. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
So,
Right.
at this point, can we have a round? First, Catherine, anything stands out for you from
You
this?
know what? There's some great things on here, and I'd like to take this away and have a look. Sharing data, we've obviously got some ethical considerations when we do that, which we need to be mindful of. But at the moment, they're in a folder which is password protected. That's about as much as we have in our own internal systems. But you're absolutely right. I would love to have more of the team be trained in this and support.
Excellent.
All
So
right.
can we have a round of applause for Catherine?